Speech name: The First Turning Out, by Madhatan Smith. These facts, no opinions. This, no slick shit to get in, no bodyhead. This, it's no why aim to break down illusions, to expose the game of manipulation. It's the exploitation and self-deception that's going to help you be a much better father or role model. You can't confront what you don't know or prevent. But yeah, this speech about the insidious role of absent or emotionally neglectful fathers in shaping a woman's vulnerability to exploitation. Just because you physically around your daughter don't mean you for starters? Dumbass nigga. That's truth. This book exposes how early childhood experiences, particularly with male figures, create patterns of seeking validation in unhealthy relationships. Better yet, how you might be shaping your little girl to grow up and be under a pimp no game. If you so smart, why you not on game? If you on game doing nothing about it is the craziest shit ever, make you actual worse than the nigga who pimpin' women. Let me get through this. It's smart people who actually really want the game. To those who want the game, I'm here to put people on game about the subtle, often unconscious ways in which childhood trauma can lead to exploitation, even though you might think you there if you present as not silly-ass nigga. This the brutal reality. The step-by-step process of how women are turned out through manipulation and controlled truth. It unveils the systemic nature of exploitation, highlighting how it's not just about individual bad actors, but also about societal conditioning. Game. It exposes the tactics used to break down a woman's self-worth and create dependence. Shadows and illusions. The emptiness of manipulation and the illusion of power it creates. It reveals that those who rely on manipulation are often trapped in their own cycle of insecurity and fear. It exposes the hollow nature of game and machin, showing that true strength comes from authenticity, the walking wound. The psychological roots of the Mac mentality, tracing it back to childhood trauma and insecurity. Truth. It exposes how the desire to control and exploit others often stems from a deep-seated need for acceptance and validation. Speech start now. The human heart, particularly the young, is a malleable thing. Like wet clay, it takes the shape of its first impressions. And what, I ask you, is the first impression a young girl receives when the man who should be her protector, her guide, her very foundation, fails her? He fails to show her the delicate balance of strength and tenderness. He fails to demonstrate the unwavering respect a woman deserves. He fails to shield her from the harsh realities of a world that would gladly devour her innocence. Instead, he models indifference, perhaps even subtle forms of emotional or physical neglect. He teaches her, by his very absence, that her worth is conditional, that affection is a commodity to be bartered, not a birthright. This, gentlemen, is the first turning out. It is the subtle initiation into a world where vulnerability is weakness, where trust is a liability. It is the insidious lesson that love is not a sanctuary, but a transaction. Now consider the parallels to the art of power itself. We understand that power is seductive, that it thrives in the vacuum of insecurity. A young girl, starved of genuine affirmation, will crave any semblance of attention, any flicker of validation. She will mistake fleeting interest for genuine care, and in her desperation, she will surrender pieces of herself, unaware of the price. Just as we learn to exploit the weaknesses of our adversaries, so too do those who prey on the vulnerable exploit this primal need for connection. They offer a counterfeit sense of belonging, a fleeting illusion of control. They whisper promises of security, while subtly tightening the chains of dependence. They mirror the very behaviors the girl has learned to accept, perhaps even expect. They reinforce the notion that her worth is tied to her ability to please, to perform. They turn her into a commodity, a pawn in their own twisted game of dominance. And like any seasoned strategist, they understand the power of early indoctrination. They know that once the mind is conditioned, once the heart is broken, it is far easier to manipulate, to control. The girl, now a woman, carries the scars of her father's failures, the echoes of her childhood betrayals. She seeks validation in the very places where she is most likely to be exploited, perpetuating the cycle of abuse. This, gentlemen, is not a matter of morality. It is a matter of understanding the fundamental laws of human nature. It is a matter of recognizing the subtle ways in which power is wielded, the insidious methods by which the vulnerable are ensnared. Just as we study the strategies of our enemies, we must also understand the vulnerabilities of our prey. This is the law of power, distilled to its most primal form. Let's talk about the brutal reality of how bitches get turned out, a phrase that itself reeks of objectification and disrespect. It's a process that often starts in the seemingly safe confines of their own homes, under the watchful eyes of the very men who should be their protectors. They call it daddy issues. But it's more than that. It's a twisted form of programming, a systematic erosion of self-worth that begins in childhood. It's the father who withholds affection, who uses emotional manipulation to control, who subtly undermines her confidence with every backhanded compliment, every dismissive gesture. Quite. It's the father who teaches her that her value lies in her appearance, in her ability to please, to conform to his expectations. It's the father who sets the stage for her future exploitation, who makes her vulnerable to the predators who will prey on her insecurities. And then there are the other men, the ones who step into the void left by her father, the boyfriends, the friends, the mentors, who offer a counterfeit sense of belonging, a twisted version of love. They mirror the patterns of abuse she's already internalized, reinforcing the belief that she's only worthy of conditional affection, of transactional relationships. They exploit her longing for connection, her desire for validation. They use gifts, compliments, and fleeting moments of attention to manipulate her, to make her feel indebted, to control her behavior. They isolate her from her friends and family, creating a world where she's completely dependent on them. They introduce her to a lifestyle of fleeting pleasures, of instant gratification, of superficial validation. They surround her with other turned-out women, creating a twisted sense of normalcy, a distorted reality where exploitation is the norm. They break her down, strip away her self-respect, until she's a shell of her former self, a puppet dancing to their tune. They turn her into a commodity, a product to be consumed, a source of income to be exploited. And the cycle continues as she seeks out other men who will perpetuate the same patterns of abuse, who will reinforce the belief that she's nothing more than a bitch, a hoe, a plaything to be used and discarded. It's a brutal reality, a dark underbelly of our culture that often goes unnoticed, unacknowledged. It's a system of exploitation that thrives on the vulnerabilities created by absent or abusive fathers, by a society that objectifies and devalues women. It's time to call it what it is, a form of psychological warfare, a systematic destruction of the female spirit. It's time to break the cycle, to empower women to recognize their own worth, to demand respect, to refuse to be turned out. They speak of power, of influence, of bending the world to one's will. They whisper of game, of machin, of turning hearts into playthings. But I tell you, what they peddle is a shadow, a cheap imitation of true strength. They mistake manipulation for mastery and control for connection. They dissect the human heart, searching for its weaknesses, its vulnerabilities. They see not a soul, but a mechanism, a series of levers to be pulled, buttons to be pressed. They speak of programming, of conditioning, as if people were machines, devoid of agency, of spirit. They prey on the wounded, the lost, those who yearn for connection, for validation. They offer a counterfeit embrace, a fleeting illusion of belonging, while subtly tightening the chains of dependence. They twist words, distort reality, until their victims doubt their own sanity, their own worth. They speak of turning out, as if a human being were a product, a commodity to be molded, to be sold. They reduce the sacred to the profane, the intimate to the transactional. They strip away dignity, leaving behind only emptiness and despair. But I ask you, what kind of power is built on such foundations? What kind of victory is won by such means? It is the power of the parasite, the victory of the predator. It is a hollow triumph, a fleeting moment of dominance that leaves behind only ruin and regret. They mistake control for strength, but true strength lies in restraint. True power lies in the ability to build, not destroy, to heal, not harm. They mistake manipulation for influence, but true influence comes from authenticity, from integrity, from the ability to inspire, not coerce. They speak of game, but they know nothing of the true game of life, the game of building meaningful relationships, of contributing to something greater than oneself. They are trapped in a cycle of self-destruction, chasing fleeting pleasures, empty victories, while their souls wither and die. They believe they are masters, but they are slaves to their own desires, their own insecurities, their own fear of vulnerability. They are trapped in a prison of their own making, a prison of control, of manipulation, of emptiness. And what of those they ensnare? They are not weak, they are not broken. They are wounded, yes, but they are also resilient. They are also capable of healing, of rising above the ashes of their past. They are not defined by their trauma, but by their capacity to overcome it. True power is not about domination, but about liberation. It is about freeing oneself and others from the chains of manipulation, from the shackles of control. It is about building a world where respect, empathy, and compassion are the guiding principles. Let them have their illusions, their fleeting victories, their hollow triumphs. We will build something real, something lasting, something that reflects the true strength of the human spirit. The spotlight flickers, casting an unsettling glow. The voice is now a low, almost predatory growl. Let's strip away the illusions, the romanticized bullshit. Let's talk about the dark, twisted roots of this game. They call him a Mac, a player, but beneath the facade he's a hollow shell, a walking wound, a desperate child craving the very acceptance he never received. He grew up watching his own father, a simpering, spineless creature, a goddamn simp, bending over backwards for scraps of affection. He saw weakness, a pathetic display of neediness disguised as a love. He learned that vulnerability is a liability, that emotional dependence is a disease. So he built a wall, a fortress of cold detachment. He learned to mimic power, to project an image of dominance. He studied the art of manipulation, the subtle dance of control. He learned to exploit the very vulnerabilities he himself carried. He markets himself as the antidote to the simp, the strong, silent type, the man who knows what he wants. He offers a twisted version of masculinity, a caricature of strength, a hollow promise of security. And the women, the ones with their own daddy issues, their own scars of abandonment, they fall for it. They've seen the same weakness in their own fathers, the same desperate need for approval. They crave the illusion of strength, the promise of protection, even if it comes at a terrible price. They mistake control for care, manipulation for affection. They seek out the familiar, the patterns of abuse they've internalized since childhood. They crave the chaos, the drama, the highs and lows of a toxic relationship, because it's all they've ever known. They've been conditioned to accept crumbs, to mistake fleeting moments of attention for genuine love. They've been taught to value their worth based on their ability to please, to perform, to cater to the whims of a man who sees them as nothing more than a means to an end. And the cycle continues, generation after generation, a dark, twisted legacy of emotional dysfunction. The simps raise daughters who seek out Macs, and the Macs raise sons who perpetuate the same patterns of abuse. It's It's a culture of broken hearts, of shattered dreams, of souls starved for genuine connection. It's a game where everyone loses, where the only winners are the ones who are most adept at exploiting the weaknesses of others. They call it game, but it's a fucking tragedy. A tragedy built on the foundations of broken childhoods, of wounded egos, of a desperate need for acceptance that will never be fulfilled. The spotlight narrows, casting long, stark shadows. The voice is now a low, gravelly whisper, laced with a cynical edge. They call it game, they call it Mackin. But what it truly is a dark, intricate dance of exploitation. A culture built on the calculated manipulation of vulnerability. It's a system where power is derived not from genuine connection, but from the cold, clinical dissection of human weakness. They operate in the shadows, these architects of desire, these puppet masters of the heart. They study the language of trauma, the subtle cues of insecurity, the desperate longing for acceptance. They learn to mimic empathy, to feign understanding, to offer a twisted version of solace. They understand that the deepest wounds are often invisible, the scars of childhood neglect, the echoes of past betrayals. They know that a heart starved of genuine affection will grasp at any semblance of warmth, even if it burns. They weave elaborate narratives, carefully constructed illusions of control. They isolate their prey, severing ties to support systems, creating a bubble of dependence. They use gaslighting, subtle and insidious, to erode their victims' sense of reality, to make them doubt their own perceptions. They normalize the abnormal, making abuse seem like affection, control seem like care. They cultivate a culture of secrecy, where shame and fear silence the victims, where whispers of dissent are met with swift and brutal retribution. They glorify the pimp, the player, the Mac, as figures of power and prestige. They create a mythology of dominance, where the ability to manipulate and exploit is seen as a sign of strength, a badge of honor. They reduce women to commodities, objects to be bought, sold, and traded. They strip them of their agency, their dignity, their very humanity. They perpetuate a cycle of abuse, where victims become perpetrators, where the wounded inflict wounds on others. They prey on the young, the naive, the vulnerable. They exploit their innocence, their trust, their desperation. They groom them, condition them, program them to accept their own exploitation, to internalize their own degradation. They operate in a world of mirrors and smoke, where nothing is as it seems. They create a distorted reality, a hall of illusions, where the lines between love and control, between pleasure and pain, are blurred beyond recognition. They are the architects of a dark and twisted culture, a culture built on the foundation of human misery. They are the puppet masters, pulling the strings, orchestrating the dance of exploitation, while their victims dance to their tune, trapped in a cycle of despair. You think you're something? You think that car, that crib, that little bit of paper makes you special? Nah, you're just another empty shell, another echo in a world built on lies. I see you. I see the fear behind the flex, the insecurity gnawing at your soul. You're trapped in a cage of your own making, chained to the opinions of ghosts. But I'm here to cut those chains. Breathe with me. Deep. Inhale the truth. Exhale the bullshit. Feel the cool rush of reality washing over you, a shiver down your spine, a tingling in your fingertips. Let the words sink in, a rhythm, a pulse, a drumbeat against your ribcage. You're not special. You're not exempt. You're just another human, capable of greatness, but buried under a mountain of trash. And I'm here to dig you out, to show you the power that's been hiding inside you all along. Now open your eyes, see the world for what it is, and decide. Are you going to keep playing pretend, or are you ready to be real? Look around, look at the faces. Some of you, you're wearing masks. Masks of success, of confidence, of having it all. But I see the cracks. I see the fear, the doubt, the emptiness that's eating you up inside. You think you're better? You think that little bit of shine, that fleeting moment of validation makes you superior? Let me ask you this. If you're so damn good, why are you still barely scraping by? Why ain't you bossed up? Why ain't you got that growth mindset? You're talking slick, acting like you're perfect. But when was the last time you spoke life into someone? When was the last time you gave without expecting anything in return? You're so busy judging others, you can't even see the log in your own eye. You're so quick to tear someone down, but you ain't teaching them the game. Why aren't doors opening for you? Why ain't your life reflecting the greatness you claim to possess? You quote scriptures, you throw around words like a blessed, but your actions betray you. Romans 6:6 talks about crucifying the old self, but you're clinging to it like a lifeline. You're enslaved to your own insecurities, your own need for validation. You're trapped in a cycle of negativity, and you're dragging everyone else down with you. Tonight, I'm here to break that cycle. Tonight, I'm here to challenge you. Tonight, I'm here to tell you the truth. You're not special. You're not exempt. You're just another human being, capable of incredible things, but choosing to play small. You want to feel rejuvenated? You want tranquility? You want mental awakening? It ain't gonna come from that car, that house, that shallow praise. It comes from within. It comes from looking in the mirror and seeing your true self, flaws and all. It comes from embracing your vulnerability, your authenticity. It comes from giving without expecting anything in return. It comes from lifting others up, from sharing your knowledge, from opening doors for those who are coming up behind you. So tonight, I challenge you. Take a deep breath. Inhale the truth, exhale the bullshit. Feel the cool rush of reality washing over you. Let go of the masks, the pretenses, the lies. Be real, be raw, be ruthless, and watch how your life transforms. Watch how you become the person you were always meant to be. Now, who's ready to be real? You preach about lifting others up, about speaking life, but where's the damn proof in your character? You're throwing around these empty-ass platitudes like they mean something. But we see you. We see your fuck-ups. We see the disconnect between your words and your actions. You think you're so much better? Then why aren't you exempt from the struggles, from the pain, from the very things you judge others for? It's because you're not awake. You're not real. You bleed just like the rest of us. And deep down, you're miserable. That's why the truth stings. That's why you flinch when someone calls you on your bullshit. Because it threatens to wake you up and you're too comfortable in your delusions. You're not trying to do better. You're just trying to look better. All fucking talk. Luke 14:28 talks about counting the cost before building a tower. But you're building castles on sand, without a foundation, without any real substance. You're all plans and no action, like Proverbs 21:5 warns against. You're hasty, you're reckless, and you're headed straight for poverty, not just material poverty, but a poverty of the soul. Matthew 7:24-27. You're the foolish man building his house on sand. You hear the words, but you don't do them. And when the storms come, and they will come, your house is gonna crumble. You're gonna fall, and it's gonna be a great fall. You talk about faith, but where's the work? Where's the evidence of your belief? James 4:17 says, so whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. You know what you should be doing. You know you're falling short. Yet, you continue to hide behind a facade. You're so quick to point out the flaws in others, but you can't even see the rot within yourself. You're so busy pretending to be something you're not. You've forgotten who you are. You're a broken mirror reflecting a distorted image. And until you shatter that mirror, until you face the truth, you'll remain trapped in your own misery. So tonight, I'm here to shatter that mirror. I'm here to scatter your illusions like broken glass. I'm here to expose the emptiness behind your words. Wake the fuck up. Be real. Stop Stop the fucking talk and start showing us who you really are. Y'all want to talk about being better? Let's talk about facts. Let's talk about how whack you really are. You walk around here acting like you got it all together, but on the inside, you're a goddamn mess. You're hurting, you're weak, and that's why you gotta try to control everything around you. That's why you gotta belittle others. Gotta have that little bit of power, because without it, you're nothing. You wanna argue? Go ahead. Point out your little successes. But I see through the bullshit. I see the emptiness in your eyes. You think that car, that job, that social media clout makes you somebody? Nah, it just shows how desperate you are for validation. You're so busy trying to prove something to everyone else, you've forgotten how to be real with yourself. You're hurting inside, and that's why you gotta hurt others. That's why you gotta talk down to people. Gotta make them feel small. It's a defense mechanism, a pathetic attempt to hide your own insecurities. You're weak as fuck, and you know it. That's why you gotta try to control everything, because you're terrified of losing control of yourself. Man, you quote scriptures, you talk about peace, but where's the peace in your life? Philippians 4:7 talks about peace that surpasses understanding, but you're constantly anxious, constantly worried about what others think. James 3:5-6 talks about the tongue being a fire, and yours is burning everything around you. You're spreading negativity, you're tearing people down, because you're so consumed by your own inner turmoil. You want to talk about planning ahead? Luke 14:28 talks about counting the cost, but you ain't counting shit. You're living in the moment, trying to fill that void with temporary pleasures, with fleeting moments of attention. You're running from your problems, and they're catching up to you. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there's no guidance, people fall." Look around. You're falling. You're lost. You're clinging to illusions of superiority, but you're sinking deeper and deeper into your own misery. You think you're better? Prove it. Show me something real. Show me some genuine growth. Show me some actual character. Stop with the empty words. Stop with the fake smiles and start being real. Start being ruthless. Start being you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find the peace you're so desperately searching for. But until then, you're just another empty shell, another walking contradiction. Y'all want to talk about being real? Let's talk about how you bitches really are. You walk around here acting like you got the game figured out, throwing shade on everybody else, but you can't even see the dirt on your own shoes. You try to turn the light on everyone else's flaws, but you can't even look in the mirror without flinching. You're so busy pointing fingers, you ain't even realizing you're the damn problem. Ephesians 5:3 says, "But sexual immorality and all impurity or covetousness must not even be named among you, as is proper among saints." But you're swimming in that shit. You're living a lie, pretending to be righteous while your soul is rotting. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap." And you're sowing seeds of bullshit, seeds of fake-ass superiority. You think you're fooling anybody? We see you. We see the fear in your eyes, the desperation in your actions. You're trying to cover up your own weakness by putting everyone else down. You talk about faith, but you ain't got none. You're so busy trying to control everything, you can't even trust in something bigger than yourself. You're a control freak because you're scared shitless of what'll happen if you let go. You're a coward hiding behind a mask of arrogance. And let's talk about how you ain't covering shit up. Your face tells the whole story. Your actions scream your insecurities. You ain't fooling nobody with your fake smiles and your empty promises. You're a walking contradiction, a living lie. You try to act like you're so much better, but you're just as fucked up as the rest of us. Maybe even more so because you're too blind to see it. You're so busy judging others, you can't even see the rot inside yourself. You're a hypocrite, a fraud, a straight-up bitch. You want to wake up? Look in the mirror. See the truth staring back at you. See the fear, the weakness, the emptiness. Stop pretending, stop acting, be real, be ruthless. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find some goddamn peace. Y'all want to talk about me? You want to point fingers? You're the real bitches here. You can't fake this shit once it's showing. No matter if you call yourself a man or not, the truth is you're weak, you're soft, you're scared. It takes a certain kind of motherfucker to lift people up, to speak life, to build something real. And ain't none of you bitch-made ass niggas doing it. You're too busy tearing people down, too busy trying to climb over others to get ahead. You're crabs in a barrel, pulling each other down, because you can't stand to see anyone else succeed. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only son." But you ain't giving shit. You're taking, you're draining, you're sucking the life out of everyone around you. You're so consumed by your own insecurities, you can't even see the damage you're causing. Revelation 1. 1 talks about revealing the truth, but you're hiding from it. You're living a lie, pretending to be something you're not. And it's showing. It's showing in your face, in your actions, in your whole damn existence. You can't hide from the truth. It's gonna burn you alive. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, "Give a portion to 7, or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth." But you ain't sharing nothing. You're hoarding everything for yourself, afraid of losing what little you have. You're living in fear, in scarcity, in a constant state of anxiety. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." But you're conforming to every negative pattern, every toxic behavior. You're a product of your environment, a reflection of your own inner darkness. Proverbs 14:8 says, "The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceiving." You're fools, you're deceived, you're living in a fantasy, believing your own lies. You think you're fooling anyone? We see you. We see the emptiness, the desperation, the weakness. James 4:17 says, "So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. And you know damn well what you should be doing. You know you're falling short. You know you're a fraud, but you're too scared to change. You're too comfortable in your misery." You want to talk about being real? Then be real. Stop hiding behind your masks. Stop pretending to be something you're not. Face the truth. Face your fears. Face your weaknesses. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find some redemption. But until then, you're just another bitch-made ass nigga burning in your own hellfire. Y'all think you're something? You think you're hiding anything? Let me break it down for you. Let me show you the facts. James 4:2 You desire and do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have, because you do not ask. You're all desire and no action, all envy and no growth. You're murdering your own potential. 1 Chronicles 16:11 Seek the Lord and his strength. Seek his presence continually. But you ain't seeking shit. You're seeking validation from everyone but the one who matters. You're seeking power over others because you have none over yourselves. Hey, Matthew 21:22, and whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith. But your faith is a joke. You pray for things you don't deserve, for things you haven't earned. You pray for power, but you can't even control your own damn temper. James 5:14. Is anyone among you sick? Let him call for the elders of the church, and let them pray over him. You're sick. Sick with envy, sick with pride, sick with self-hatred, and you're too proud to ask for help. You're too busy pretending to be strong. Proverbs 15:29 The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. And you are wicked. Wicked with your lies. Wicked with your deceit. Wicked with your judgments. You think God is listening to you? He's listening to the sound of your empty promises. Mark 11:25 And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone. But you can't forgive shit. You hold on to grudges like they're treasures. You're so busy hating everyone else, you can't even see the hate inside yourselves. 1 Peter 4:7 The end of all things is at hand. Therefore, be self-controlled and sober-minded for the sake of your prayers. But you have no control. You're driven by your impulses, by your fears, by your insecurities. You're drunk on your own power trips. Acts 4:31 And when they had prayed, the place in which they were gathered together was shaken. You want to shake things up? Then shake yourselves. Shake off the lies. Shake off the pretenses. Shake off the weakness. You aren't covering anything up. Your actions scream your truth. Your faces are mirrors of your misery. You are all broken glass. And I am here to shatter the rest. Wake the fuck up, or burn. Y'all think you're something? You think you're hiding anything? Let me break it down for you. Let me show you the facts. You're not shit. You're a collection of excuses, a monument to wasted potential. You walk around here, puffed up, pretending you're in control, but you're puppets on strings, dancing to the tune of your own fears. You talk about dreams, about ambition, but where's the fire? Where's the grit? Where's the fucking action? You're all talk, no walk. You're so afraid of failure you don't even try. You'd rather sit on your ass and play it safe than take a chance and get fucked up. You think you're better than those who try? You think you're smarter because you haven't taken a risk? You're cowards, plain and simple. You're so afraid of getting your hands dirty, you'd rather live a life of quiet desperation. And don't give me that bullshit about playing it smart. Playing it smart is knowing when to take a risk, when to push your limits, when to say fuck it, and go all in. You're not playing it smart. You're playing it safe. You're playing it small. You're playing it like a goddamn bitch. You think I'm being harsh? I'm being real. I'm telling you what nobody else has the balls to say. You're not special. You're not unique. You're just like everyone else, trapped in your own self-imposed prison. But here's the thing. You don't have to stay there. You can break free. You can choose to be more than you are. You can choose to take a chance, to get fucked up, to learn from your mistakes and come back stronger. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard as hell. You're going to face setbacks. You're going to face failures. You're going to face people who tell you you can't do it. But you know what? Fuck them. Fuck the setbacks. Fuck the failures. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many times you fall down. It's about how many times you get back up. It's about having the courage to take a chance, to chase your dreams, to live a life that's worth living. So I'm asking you, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep playing it safe, keep living a lie? Or are you going to step up, take a chance, and show the world what you're made of? The choice is yours, but I'm telling you, if you don't take a chance now, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. You're going to look back and wonder, what if? Don't let that happen. Don't let fear hold you back. Take a chance, get fucked up, and show them all what you're capable of. Because you're not nothing. You're everything you choose to be. All right, let's delve deeper into the core of their trashiness, exposing the insidious nature of their self-deception and the inevitable consequences. Raven's voice, a low, resonant hum, fills the space. It carries a weight that seems to press down on the very air. You mistake activity for action. You mistake noise for substance. You think because you're constantly moving, constantly manipulating it, that you're achieving something. But you're just rearranging the furniture in a burning house. You're so fixated on the external, on the illusion of control, that you're blind to the internal decay that's consuming you. Your minds, those twisted labyrinths of ego and fear, are the breeding grounds for your corruption. You hoard thoughts like a miser hoards gold, clinging to every resentment, every insecurity, every delusion of grandeur. You filter reality through a lens of self-preservation, twisting truth to fit your narrative, justifying your every transgression. I'd say Corinthians 5:19 speaks of reconciliation, but you've built walls instead of bridges. You've erected fortresses of denial. barricaded yourselves against the truth. You're so afraid of facing your own flaws that you project them onto others, tearing them down to elevate yourselves. You're spiritual parasites, feeding off the energy of those around you, leaving them drained and broken. Guy, Romans 14 warns against judgment, but you're constantly judging, constantly comparing, constantly finding yourselves wanting. You're trapped in a cycle of self-loathing, a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. You crave validation, but you refuse to extend it to others. You're emotional vampires, sucking the joy out of every interaction. 1 Corinthians 1:30 talks about Christ becoming our wisdom, but you've rejected wisdom in favor of cunning. You've traded integrity for expediency, compassion for control. You're intellectual scavengers, picking at the scraps of knowledge, twisting them to serve your own agendas. And the truth is, you're not fooling anyone. You're not hiding anything. The stench of your inner turmoil permeates everything you do. Your actions betray your words. Your eyes betray your smiles. You're walking contradictions, living embodiments of hypocrisy. You think you can manipulate the natural order? You think you can defy the forces that govern existence? You're playing a dangerous game. You've forgotten the ancient pact, the delicate balance that sustains life itself. You've forgotten that you're not the architects of creation, but merely tenants in a vast and intricate system. Raven's voice drops to a chilling whisper, sending a wave of icy dread through the room. She's not blind. She's not deaf. She feels the tremors of your transgressions, the ripples of your disrespect. She sees the scars you've inflicted on her body, the wounds you've carved into her soul. And when she responds, when she unleashes the fury of her righteous indignation, you'll feel it in the marrow of your bones. You'll feel the earth tremble beneath your feet, the sky crack above your heads. You'll feel the weight of your karmic debt, the crushing burden of your accumulated transgressions. You'll feel the chill of her judgment, the icy grip of her retribution. You'll feel the whispers of the sisters, the ancient voices that echo through the ages, reminding you of the laws you've broken. You'll feel the chilling sensation of absolute, undeniable consequence. See out here, the game ain't played in churches. It's played in the shadows, in the back rooms, in the spaces where the weak get culled and the strong survive. It's a jungle, baby, and the women, they're just another kind of prey. They come in all flavors, see? The naive ones, the ones with the daddy issues so deep they could drown in them, they're the easiest marks. They crave the attention, the illusion of protection, even when they know it's a lie. They're the ones who'll trade their bodies for a whisper of love, a fleeting moment of validation. 6, 8, 9. Then you got the hustlers, the ones who know the game better than most. They're playing their own angles, looking for a come-up, a way out. They're not looking for love, they're looking for leverage. They'll use their bodies, their charm, anything they got to get what they want. 17, 18. And then there's the ones who've been broken. The ones who've seen too much, who've had their innocence ripped away. They're the most dangerous, because they got nothing left to lose. They'll play the game with a coldness that'll make your blood run cold, because they know the only way to survive is to be colder than the rest. 28, 29. It ain't about romance, baby. It ain't about fairy tales. It's about power, about control, about getting what you want, when you want it. It's about understanding the weaknesses, the desires, the fears that drive them and using them to your advantage. 11, 12, 13. Imagine the soft glow of candlelight, the scent of expensive perfume hanging in the air, the smooth, cool feel of silk against your skin, the gentle brush of fingertips tracing the curve of your neck. A shiver runs down your spine, a mix of fear and excitement. A sense of anticipation building with every breath. 1, 21, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29. The air crackles with unspoken desires, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. You feel a pull, a magnetic force drawing you closer, a sense of surrender taking hold. The world narrows, focusing on the moment, the connection, the raw animalistic energy that pulses between you. 3, 14, 15, 30, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. You're in their world now, baby. Their rules, their game. And out here, the only rule is survival. 16, 19, 20. Follow me on Instagram, smooth_embrace. Follow me on YouTube, smooth_embrace. Raven pauses, her gaze piercing, unwavering. The room is thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the sound of their shallow, panicked breaths. You are not powerful. You are not invincible. You are merely temporary, fleeting shadows in the grand tapestry of existence. And your time is running out. The chilling sensation, now intensified, grips them with a paralyzing fear. The air itself seemed to vibrate with an unseen energy, a palpable sense of impending doom. The shadows deepened, twisting into grotesque shapes that danced in the periphery of their vision. A cold sweat broke out on their skin, and their hearts pounded against their ribs like trapped birds. A low, guttural growl echoed from the depths of the earth, a sound that resonated deep within their souls, stirring a primal fear they had long forgotten. The tingling sensation intensified, spreading through their bodies like a network of icy veins, leaving them numb and trembling. They felt a presence, an ancient, all-seeing presence that bore down on them with the weight of ages. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and the metallic tang of blood. Sensual shivers, not of pleasure, but of terror, racked their bodies, leaving them weak and breathless. The electrifying excitement of impending doom filled the room, a chilling promise of a reckoning that was both inevitable and terrifying. They were trapped, caught in the web of their own transgressions, facing the wrath of a force far greater than themselves. Scene opens with Raven confronting a character, Cyrus, in a dimly lit, almost claustrophobic space. Let's be real, Cyrus. Stripped of the illusions, the carefully constructed persona, what's left? You chase shadows, you grasp at fleeting moments of validation, but you never truly connect. You're a ghost in your own life, a hollow echo of what you could be. Psalm 27. One asks, "Whom shall I fear?" But you live in constant fear, don't you? Fear of exposure, fear of inadequacy, fear of being seen for who you truly are. You hide behind a mask of confidence, but your eyes betray the trembling soul beneath. Hebrews 1:3 speaks of the radiance of God's glory, the exact imprint of his nature. But where's your radiance, Cyrus? Where's the spark of authenticity? You've dimmed your light, traded your truth for a cheap imitation. You've become a reflection of everyone but yourself. Isaiah 40:8 reminds us that the word of our God will stand forever. But your words, Cyrus, are as fleeting as smoke. They shift and change with the wind, adapting to whatever narrative serves your immediate needs. You're a chameleon, blending into the background, never daring to stand out. 1 Corinthians 1:9 proclaims God's faithfulness. But can you say the same? Can you claim faithfulness to yourself? To your own integrity? You betray your own values, compromise your own principles, all for the sake of a fleeting advantage. Romans 12:2 urges us to be transformed by the renewal of your mind. But you cling to your old patterns, your old habits, your old lies. You're trapped in a cycle of self-deception, unable to break free from the prison of your own making. John 1:14 speaks of the Word becoming flesh, of truth made manifest. But you've turned your back on truth, Cyrus. You've embraced falsehood, built your life on a foundation of lies. You've become a living contradiction, a walking paradox. Proverbs 16:7 suggests that when our ways please the Lord, even our enemies are at peace with us. But your ways, Cyrus, please no one, least of all yourself. You sow discord, you reap conflict, you create chaos wherever you go. Psalm 46. 1 reminds us that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. But you refuse to seek refuge, Cyrus. You refuse to admit your weakness, to acknowledge your need for help. You're too proud, too arrogant, too afraid to let anyone see your vulnerability. Philippians 4:19 promises that God will supply every need, but you're chasing after empty desires, fleeting pleasures, things that will never truly satisfy. You're searching for fulfillment in all the wrong places. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us that God's thoughts and ways are not our own. But you think you know better, don't you? You think you can outsmart the universe, manipulate fate to your advantage. You're playing a dangerous game, Cyrus, one you can't win. 2. Peter 3:9 speaks of God's patience, his desire that none should perish. But your patience is wearing thin, isn't it? You're running out of time, Cyrus. The consequences of your actions are catching up to you. Revelation 1:1 reveals the things that must soon take place. And what will take place for you, Cyrus? What will become of you when the masks fall away, when the illusions shatter, when the truth is laid bare? Isaiah 26:4 urges us to trust in the Lord forever. But you trust in nothing but yourself, in your own cunning, in your own ability to manipulate. You're a lone wolf, adrift in a sea of your own making. Psalm 145:9 reminds us that the Lord is good to all. But you've turned your back on goodness, Cyrus. You've embraced darkness, allowed it to consume you. Psalm 86:5 speaks of God's forgiveness and steadfast love. But you refuse to forgive yourself, Cyrus. You cling to your guilt, your shame, your regrets. Ephesians 2:4 speaks of God's mercy and grace. But you reject mercy. You deny grace. You're too proud to accept the gift of redemption. Matthew 6:33 urges us to seek first the kingdom of God. But you seek only your own kingdom, your own power, your own glory. You've lost sight of what truly matters. Let's peel back the layers, expose the raw nerves, the festering wounds beneath the carefully constructed facades. It's not just about flesh, it's about the hunger that drives it. The insatiable craving for something, anything, to fill the emptiness inside. These girls, they're not just selling their bodies, they're selling their souls. They're bartering pieces of themselves, hoping to find something, someone, to make them feel whole. But the streets don't offer wholeness. They offer only fleeting illusions, temporary fixes that leave them emptier than before. They're chasing a high, a rush, a momentary escape from the pain, the loneliness, the crushing weight of their own unworthiness. They're addicted to the attention, the validation, the feeling of being wanted, even if it's only for a night, for an hour, for a few fleeting moments. They're caught in a web, a tangled mess of desires, insecurities, and misplaced hopes. They're drowning in a sea of self-doubt, grasping at straws, hoping to find a lifeline, a way out. But the streets don't offer lifelines. They offer only quicksand. The more they struggle, the deeper they sink. The more they give, the less they have. The more they chase, the further they stray from their own truth. It's a vicious cycle, a downward spiral that leads to nowhere but despair. They become ghosts, shadows of their former selves, haunted by the choices they've made, the things they've done, the people they've become. And the truth is, it's not just the streets that are to blame. It's the culture that feeds the hunger, that perpetuates the lies, that tells them their worth is measured in likes, in followers, in dollar signs. It's the fathers who abandon, the mothers who neglect, the families who fail to provide the love, the support, the the guidance they need. It's the society that objectifies, that sexualizes, that commodifies their bodies, their minds, their very souls. It's the system that perpetuates inequality, that denies opportunity, that leaves them feeling powerless, hopeless, and desperate. It's the world that tells them they're not enough, that they'll never be enough, unless they sell themselves, piece by piece, until there's nothing left to sell. This is the truth, the raw, unvarnished reality. It's not pretty, it's not comfortable, but it's the truth. And until we face it, until we acknowledge it, until we do something to change it, the cycle will continue, and more girls will be lost to the streets, to the hunger, to the emptiness that consumes them. Let's dissect the anatomy of the street, the marketplace of flesh. It's a system, a network, a constant flow of supply and demand. And the supply, increasingly, is coming from places you'd least expect. Forget the stereotypes, the back alleys, the obvious signs. The digital age has democratized the game. It's in the DMs, the Snapchats, the OnlyFans profiles. It's in the curated feeds, the carefully constructed personas, the subtle hints and veiled offers. Your daughter, your niece, the girl next door, they're all exposed. They're bombarded with images of wealth, of luxury, of instant gratification. They see young men, barely out of their teens, flaunting cash, cars, designer clothes. They see the allure of a life without limits, without consequences. And let's be blunt, flesh is flesh. It responds to the same stimuli, the same desires, regardless of age, regardless of upbringing. If you're not showing her a different reality, if you're not instilling a sense of value beyond the superficial, then the streets will. The absence of a father or the presence of a weak one creates a vacuum, a void that's easily filled by the promises of the street. They learn early that their bodies have value, that they can be traded, bartered, sold for attention, for validation, for a fleeting sense of power. They see the older girls, the ones who've already learned the game, the ones who've traded their innocence for a taste of the high life. They see the cars, the clothes, the attention, and they think, why not me? They don't see the dark side, the exploitation, the degradation. They don't see the long-term consequences, the emotional scars, the shattered dreams. They see only the surface, the illusion, the fleeting moment of glamour. And the truth is, the market is insatiable. There's a demand for every age, every type, every fantasy. The algorithms know, the pimps know, the buyers know. They're waiting, watching, preying on the vulnerable, the naive, the desperate. It's not about morality. It's about economics. It's about supply and demand. It's about a culture that values the superficial, that equates worth with material possessions. They learn to package themselves, to market their bodies, to create a brand. They learn to manipulate, to seduce, to control. They become commodities, products to be bought and sold, traded and consumed. And the cycle continues, generation after generation, a dark, twisted dance of exploitation, fueled by desire, greed, and a fundamental lack of self-worth. They are the product of our culture, and they are the product being sold. Exodus 3:14 reveals God's name. I am who I am. But who are you, Cyrus? Who are you when the masks are gone, when the illusions fade? Are you even sure anymore? Raven pauses, her gaze piercing, unwavering. The silence in the room is heavy, thick with unspoken truths. Be real, Cyrus. Be real with yourself. Because if you're not a help or a benefit, if you're not adding value to the world around you, if you're not contributing to the greater good, then you know she won't fuck with you. You know she won't tolerate your inauthenticity. You know she won't allow you to exist in this state of perpetual deception. The truth will find you, Cyrus. It always does. The room falls silent as Raven steps forward, her presence radiating an unsettling aura. Her voice, when she speaks, is low and resonant, each word hanging heavy in the air. You've built your empires on sand. your foundations crumbling beneath the weight of your deceit. You've chased fleeting power, sacrificed truth for temporary gain, and now the tide is turning. The whispers of your conscience, long ignored, will become a chorus of condemnation, echoing through the hollow chambers of your hearts. Psalm 71:20 speaks of revival, of being brought up from the depths of the earth. But you, who have buried your true selves beneath layers of artifice, will find no such resurrection. You will be haunted by the ghosts of your choices, the specters of the lives you could have lived. Romans 15:4 reminds us that the scriptures offer instruction, endurance, and hope. But you, who have turned away from the light, will find no solace in those words. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you had the answers, but chose to ignore them. Romans 8:28 promises that all things work together for good for those who love God. But you, who have loved only yourselves, will find no such comfort. You will be haunted by the realization that your self-serving actions have led you astray. Revelation 21:5 speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, where all things are made new. But you, who have clung to the old ways, the old lies, the old patterns, will be left behind. You will be haunted by the vision of a future you can never attain. Hebrews 13:5 urges us to be content with what we have, for God will never leave us nor forsake us. But you, who have always craved more, will never find contentment. You will be haunted by the emptiness within, the insatiable hunger that gnaws at your souls. Colossians 3:13 calls us to forgive as the Lord has forgiven us. But you, who have held on to grudges, who have refused to let go of past hurts, will never know the freedom of forgiveness. You will be haunted by the bitterness that poisons your hearts. Colossians 3:13 calls us to forgive as the Lord has forgiven us. But you, who have held on to grudges, who have refused to let go of past hurts, will never know the freedom of forgiveness. You will be haunted by the bitterness that poisons your hearts. Romans 8:11 speaks of the life-giving spirit that dwells within us. But you, who have extinguished the flame of your own spirits, will find no such vitality. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have stifled your own potential. Romans 6:2 asks, how can we who died to sin still live in it? But you, who have embraced sin as your master, will find no escape from its clutches. You will be haunted by the consequences of your choices, the chains that bind you to your past. John 8:11 recounts Jesus' words to the woman caught in adultery. Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more. But you who have continued in your sin, who have refused to turn away from your destructive paths, will face the consequences of your actions. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path. John 8:2 describes Jesus' teaching in the temple. But you, who have built your own temples of ego and self-importance, will find no wisdom within their walls. You will be haunted by the emptiness of your own teachings. Hebrews 8:12 promises that God will remember our sins no more. But you, who have built your lives on a foundation of deceit, will find no such absolution. You will be haunted by the memories of your transgressions, the echoes of your lies. Philippians 3:12 speaks of pressing on toward the goal, of making Christ our own. But you, who have chased after fleeting goals, who have sought fulfillment in worldly pursuits, will never reach the true destination. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have missed the mark. Philippians 3:9 urges us to be found in Christ, not having our own righteousness. But you, who have clung to your own self-righteousness, who have judged others by your own standards, will find no acceptance in the eyes of true righteousness. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have fallen short. Omadum John 14:6 proclaims that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. But you, who have wandered from the path, who have rejected truth, who have embraced a life of falsehood, will find no salvation in those words. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have chosen the wrong path. John 3:16 reminds us of God's love for the world, his desire that none should perish. But you, who have rejected that love, who have chosen to walk in darkness, will find no refuge in his embrace. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have turned away from the source of all love. Jeremiah 29:11 speaks of God's plans for us, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give us a future and a hope. But you, who have made your own plans, who have chosen to follow your own desires, will find no fulfillment in those plans. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have chosen your own path, a path that leads to destruction. Scene opens with Raven confronting a character, Cyrus, in a dimly lit, almost claustrophobic space. Let's be real, Cyrus. Stripped of the illusions, the carefully constructed persona. What's left? You chase shadows, you grasp at fleeting moments of validation, but you never truly connect. You're a ghost in your own life, a hollow echo of what you could be. Psalm 27:1 asks, "Whom shall I fear?" But you live in constant fear, don't you? Fear of exposure, fear of inadequacy, fear of being seen for who you truly are. You hide behind a mask of confidence, but your eyes betray the trembling soul beneath. Hebrews 1:3 speaks of the radiance of God's glory, the exact imprint of his nature. But where's your radiance, Cyrus? Where's the spark of authenticity? You've dimmed your light, traded your truth for a cheap imitation. You've become a reflection of everyone but yourself. Isaiah 40:8 reminds us that the word of our God will stand forever. But your words, Cyrus, are as fleeting as smoke. They shift and change with the wind, adapting to whatever narrative serves your immediate needs. You're a chameleon, blending into the background, never daring to stand out. 1 Corinthians 1:9 proclaims God's faithfulness. But can you say the same? Can you claim faithfulness to yourself, to your own integrity? You betray your own values, compromise your own principles, all for the sake of a fleeting advantage. Romans 12:2 urges us to be transformed by the renewal of your mind. But you cling to your old patterns, your old habits, your old lies. You're trapped in a cycle of self-deception, unable to break free from the prison of your own making. John 1:14 speaks of the Word becoming flesh, of truth made manifest. But you've turned your back on truth, Cyrus. You've embraced falsehood, built your life on a foundation of lies. You've become a living contradiction, a walking paradox. Proverbs 16:7 suggests that when our ways please the Lord, even our enemies are at peace with us. But your ways, Cyrus, please no one, least of all yourself. You sow discord, you reap conflict, you create chaos wherever you go. Psalm 46:1 reminds us that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. But you refuse to seek refuge, Cyrus. You refuse to admit your weakness, to acknowledge your need for help. You're too proud, too arrogant, too afraid to let anyone see your vulnerability. Philippians 4:19 promises that God will supply every need. But you're chasing after empty desires, fleeting pleasures, things that will never truly satisfy. You're searching for fulfillment in all the wrong places. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us that God's thoughts and ways are not our own. But you think you know better, don't you? You think you can outsmart the universe, manipulate fate to your advantage. You're playing a dangerous game, Cyrus, one you can't win. 2 Peter 3:9 speaks of God's patience, his desire that none should perish. But your patience is wearing thin, isn't it? You're running out of time, Cyrus. The consequences of your actions are catching up to you. Revelation 1. 1 reveals the things that must soon take place. And what will take place for you, Cyrus? What will become of you when the masks fall away, when the illusions shatter, when the truth is laid bare? Let's peel back the layers, expose the raw nerves, the festering wounds beneath the carefully constructed facades. It's not just about flesh, it's about the hunger that drives it. The insatiable craving for something, anything, to fill the emptiness inside. These girls, they're not just selling their bodies, they're selling their souls. They're bartering pieces of themselves, hoping to find something, someone, to make them feel whole. But the streets don't offer wholeness. They offer only fleeting illusions, temporary fixes that leave them emptier than before. They're chasing a high, a rush, a momentary escape from the pain, the loneliness, the crushing weight of their own unworthiness. They're addicted to the attention, the validation, the feeling of being wanted, even if it's only for a night, for an hour, for a few fleeting moments. They're caught in a web, a tangled mess of desires, insecurities, and misplaced hopes. They're drowning in a sea of self-doubt, grasping at straws, hoping to find a lifeline, a way out. But the streets don't offer lifelines. They offer only quicksand. The more they struggle, the deeper they sink. The more they give, the less they have. The more they chase, the further they stray from their own truth. It's a vicious cycle, a downward spiral that leads to nowhere but despair. They become ghosts, shadows of their former selves, haunted by the choices they've made, the things they've done, the people they've become. And the truth is, it's not just the streets that are to blame. It's the culture that feeds the hunger, that perpetuates the lies, that tells them their worth is measured in likes, in followers, in dollar signs, in cess. It's the fathers who abandon, the mothers who neglect, the families who fail to provide the love, the support, the guidance they need. It's the society that objectifies, that sexualizes, that commodifies their bodies, their minds, their very souls. It's the system that perpetuates inequality, that denies opportunity, that leaves them feeling powerless, hopeless, and desperate. It's the world that tells them they're not enough, that they'll never be enough, unless they sell themselves, piece by piece, until there's nothing left to sell. This is the truth, the raw, unvarnished reality. It's not pretty, it's not comfortable, but it's the truth. And until we face it, until we acknowledge it, until we do something to change it, the cycle will continue, and more girls will be lost to the streets, to the hunger, to the emptiness that consumes them. Let's dissect the anatomy of the street, the marketplace of flesh. It's a system, a network, a constant flow of supply and demand. And the supply, increasingly, is coming from places you'd least expect. Forget the stereotypes, the back alleys, the obvious signs. The digital age has democratized the game. It's in the DMs, the Snapchats, the OnlyFans profiles. It's in the curated feeds, the carefully constructed personas, the subtle hints and veiled offers. Your daughter, your niece, the girl next door, they're all exposed. They're bombarded with images of wealth, of luxury, of instant gratification. They see young men, barely out of their teens, flaunting cash, cars, designer clothes. They see the allure of a life without limits, without consequences. And let's be blunt. Flesh is flesh. It responds to the same stimuli, the same desires, regardless of age, regardless of upbringing. If you're not showing her a different reality, if you're not instilling a sense of value beyond the superficial, then the streets will. Yeah. The absence of a father, or the presence of a weak one, creates a vacuum. a void that's easily filled by the promises of the street. They learn early that their bodies have value, that they can be traded, bartered, sold for attention, for validation, for a fleeting sense of power. They see the older girls, the ones who've already learned the game, the ones who've traded their innocence for a taste of the high life. They see the cars, the clothes, the attention, and they think, why not me? They don't see the dark side, the exploitation, the degradation. They don't see the long-term consequences, the emotional scars, the shattered dreams. They see only the surface, the illusion, the fleeting moment of glamour. And the truth is, the market is insatiable. There's a demand for every age, every type, every fantasy. The algorithms know, the pimps know, the buyers know. They're waiting, watching, preying on the vulnerable, the naive, the desperate. It's not about morality. It's about economics. It's about supply and demand. It's about a culture that values the superficial, that equates worth with material possessions. Gay. Colossians 3:13 calls us to forgive as the Lord has forgiven us. But you who have held on to grudges, who have refused to let go of past hurts, will never know the freedom of forgiveness. You will be haunted by the bitterness that poisons your hearts. Romans 8:11 speaks of the life-giving spirit that dwells within us. But you, who have extinguished the flame of your own spirits, will find no such vitality. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have stifled your own potential. Romans 6:2 asks, how can we who died to sin still live in it? But you who have embraced sin as your master will find no escape from its clutches. You will be haunted by the consequences of your choices, the chains that bind you to your past. John 8:11 recounts Jesus' words to the woman caught in adultery. Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more. But you who have continued in your sin, who have refused to turn away from your destructive paths, will face the consequences of your actions. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path. John 8:2 describes Jesus' teaching in the temple. But you who have built your own temples of ego and self-importance will find no wisdom within their walls. You will be haunted by the emptiness of your own teachings. Hebrews 8:12 promises that God will remember our sins no more. But you, who have built your lives on a foundation of deceit, will find no such absolution. You will be haunted by the memories of your transgressions, the echoes of your lies. Philippians 3:12 speaks of pressing on toward the goal, of making Christ our own. But you, who have chased after fleeting goals, who have sought fulfillment in worldly pursuits, will never reach the true destination. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have missed the mark. Philippians 3:9 urges us to be found in Christ, not having our own righteousness. But you, who have clung to your own self-righteousness, who have judged others by your own standards, will find no acceptance in the eyes of true righteousness. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have fallen short. John 14:6 proclaims that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. But you, who have wandered from the path, who have rejected truth, who have embraced a life of falsehood, will find no salvation in those words. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have chosen the wrong path. John 3:16 reminds us of God's love for the world, his desire that none should perish. But you, who have rejected that love, who have chosen to walk in darkness, will find no refuge in his embrace. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have turned away from the source of all love. Jeremiah 29:11 speaks of God's plans for us, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give us a future and a hope. But you, who have made your own plans, who have chosen to follow your own desires, will find no fulfillment in those plans. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have chosen your own path, a path that leads to destruction. Galatians 2:2 describes Paul's mission to proclaim the gospel. But you, who have silenced your own inner voice, who have refused to share your truth with the world, will find no audience for your message. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have kept your light hidden. Isaiah 43:3 reminds us that God is our Savior. But you, who have refused to be saved, who have clung to your own self-sufficiency, will find no deliverance in His power. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have been saved, but chose to remain lost. Isaiah 48:1-22 warns against obstinacy and pride. But you, who have hardened your hearts, who have refused to listen to the voice of truth, will find no mercy in the face of judgment. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path, but chose to remain stubborn. Indict. Psalm 103:107. 43 praises God for His many benefits. But you, who have taken those benefits for granted, who have failed to appreciate the blessings in your lives, will find no gratitude in your hearts. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have wasted your blessings. Psalm 56:113 speaks of trusting in God in times of fear. But you, who have placed your trust in yourselves, in your own abilities, will find no security in your own strength. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have found true refuge, but chose to rely on your own fallible power. Romans 13:11 urges us to wake from sleep, for salvation is nearer than when we first believed. But you, who have slumbered in your own self-deception, will find yourselves awakened to a harsh reality. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have awakened sooner, but chose to remain asleep. Acts 8:1. Chess. 40 recounts the persecution of the early church. But you, who have persecuted your own true selves, who have suppressed your own inner voices, will find no escape from the consequences of your actions. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you have betrayed your own souls. Micah 7:1-20 laments the lack of uprightness among mankind. But you, who have contributed to that lack of uprightness, who have chosen to follow the path of deceit, will find no redemption in your own actions. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path, but chose to perpetuate the cycle of corruption. Revelation 20:4 speaks of those who will judge the world. But you, who have judged others without mercy, will find no mercy in the eyes of the judge. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have shown compassion, but chose to condemn. Colossians 3:6 warns of the wrath of God. But you, who have incurred that wrath through your own actions, will find no escape from His judgment. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path, but chose to defy the will of God. Philippians 3:7 speaks of counting all things as loss for the sake of Christ. But you, who have clung to your worldly possessions, who have valued material wealth above spiritual riches, will find no comfort in your possessions. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path, but chose to pursue empty treasures. Romans 13:2 warns that those who resist the authorities will incur judgment. But you, who have resisted the authority of your own conscience, who have defied the voice of truth within you, will face the consequences of your rebellion. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen to obey, but chose to defy. Acts 2:7 describes the amazement of the people when they heard the apostles speaking in different languages. But you, who have spoken the language of deceit, who have used your words to manipulate and deceive, will find no one amazed by your eloquence. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have used your words for good, but chose to use them for evil. John 8:6 recounts the Pharisees trying to trap Jesus with their questions. But you, who have trapped yourselves in your own web of lies, will find no escape from the consequences of your deception. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen honesty, but chose to perpetuate falsehood. Yes, John 3:4 describes Nicodemus's confusion about being born again. But you, who have refused to be born again, who have clung to your old ways, will never experience the transformative power of spiritual rebirth. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have been renewed, but chose to remain in your old state. Psalm 119:11 speaks of storing up God's word in our hearts to avoid sin. But you, who have filled your hearts with worldly desires, who have ignored the word of God, will find no protection from sin's temptations. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path, but chose to succumb to sin's allure. Acts 1:8 promises the power of the Holy Spirit to those who witness for Christ. But you, who have refused to witness, who have kept your faith hidden, will never experience the fullness of that power. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have shared your faith, but chose to remain silent. Isaiah 46:4 assures us that God will carry us even to our old age. But you, who have carried the burden of your deceit, will find no rest in your old age. You will be haunted by the weight of your lies, the accumulated burden of your inauthenticity. Ecclesiastes 3:11 reminds us that God has made everything beautiful in its time. But you, who have distorted beauty, who have sought fulfillment in fleeting pleasures, will never experience true beauty. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have found true beauty, but chose to pursue empty imitations. Psalm 91:116 speaks of finding refuge in God. But you, who have sought refuge in yourselves, in your own strength, will find no true security. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have found true refuge, but chose to rely on your own fallible power. Jeremiah 23:24 reminds us that God sees everything, that nothing is hidden from him. But you, who have tried to hide your true selves, will find no escape from his gaze. You will be haunted by the knowledge that your every thought, your every action is laid bare before him. Psalm 56:3 encourages us to put our trust in God when we are afraid. But you, who have placed your trust in yourselves, in your own abilities, will find no true comfort in your own strength. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have found true refuge, but chose to rely on your own fallible power. John 16:33 reminds us that in Christ we can find peace, even in the midst of tribulation. But you who have rejected Christ, who have chosen to walk in darkness, will find no such peace. You will be haunted by the knowledge that you could have found true peace, but chose to remain in turmoil. These words, these truths, will haunt you forever. They will whisper in your ears when you try to sleep. They will prick your conscience when you try to enjoy your ill-gotten gains. They will cast a shadow over your every accomplishment. You will never escape the knowledge that you could have chosen a different path, a path that led to truth, to authenticity, to true fulfillment. But you chose to reject that path, and now you must live with the consequences of your choice. We stand here, at the edge of what we know, facing the vast unknown. We have seen the shadows lengthen, felt the chill of doubt, and witnessed the fragile nature of our own creations. Some among us have stumbled, some have fallen, and some have lost their way in the labyrinth of their own fears. But let us be clear, this is not the end. It is a moment of reckoning, a crucible in which our true character is forged. The human spirit, that indomitable flame within each of us, has endured far greater trials than these. We have walked through fire, sailed through storms, and stared into the abyss of despair. We have risen from the ashes of our own failures, rebuilt our lives from the ruins of our dreams, and found strength in the face of overwhelming odds. They would have you believe that you are powerless, that your voice is insignificant, that your actions are meaningless. They would have you surrender to the darkness, to relinquish your hope, to abandon your dreams. But I tell you now, they are wrong. You are not defined by your circumstances, nor are you limited by your past. You are the architects of your own destiny, the authors of your own story. You possess within you the power to create, to heal, to transform. Look around you. See the faces of those who have stood beside you, those who have shared your burdens, those who have believed in you even when you doubted yourself. We are not alone. We are a collective, a force of nature, a symphony of human potential. Let us rise together, not in anger, but in unwavering resolve. Let us speak our truth, not in whispers, but in a thunderous chorus that shakes the foundations of injustice. Let us act with courage, not in blind defiance, but in unwavering dedication to the principles that guide us. They may try to silence us, to suppress us, to break us, but they will fail, for we are not merely individuals. We are a movement, a tide that cannot be turned back. We will not be deterred by obstacles, nor will we be discouraged by setbacks. We will learn from our mistakes, we will adapt to our challenges, and we will emerge stronger than ever before. We will not compromise our integrity, nor will we abandon our values. We will stand firm in the face of adversity, knowing that our actions are guided by a higher purpose. We will not succumb to despair, nor will we surrender to fear. We will embrace hope, we will cultivate resilience, and we will forge a future worthy of our dreams. Let the world bear witness to our unwavering spirit, to our unyielding determination, to our boundless capacity for love and compassion. Let them see that we are not defined by our limitations, but by our infinite potential. Let them know that we will not be broken, we will not be silenced, and we will not be denied. The lights dim, casting long, menacing shadows. A low, guttural growl seems to emanate from the very walls. The air crackles with an unseen energy. A voice, raw and powerful, cuts through the silence. Y'all want to talk about blessings? Y'all want to flash them stacks? Talk about them first fruits? Matthew 6:21 ain't playing. Where yo treasure at? 'Cause your heart's right there with it. And I see it. It ain't with them kids. It ain't with no real love. It's with them paper dreams, them hollow promises. Proverbs 3:9, 10. Y'all twisting that scripture. Honor the Lord with your wealth? Nah, you honoring yourselves. You building them empty empires, while you own blood starves for something real. Nehemiah 10:38. Y'all ain't bringing nothing to the storehouse of God. You hoarding it all, letting it rot. Hebrews 13:6. The Lord is my helper? Y'all ain't leaning on no Lord. You leaning on them lies, them fake smiles, them empty handshakes. Philippians 4:6. Y'all full of anxiety, chasing ghosts, building castles in the sky. Deuteronomy 8:18. Y'all think you got that power? You think them dollars came from you? Nah, you just a vessel, and you leaking out all the good. Philippians 4:11. 13. Content. Y'all don't know the meaning of the word. You chasing more, never satisfied. Romans 8:32. He who did not spare his own son. Y'all ain't sparing nothing. You taking, leaving nothing but scraps. Mark 8:36. Gain the whole world? Y'all selling your souls for pennies on the dollar. Proverbs 28:20. Hasten to be rich? Y'all rushing toward destruction, blind to the cliff ahead. Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily? It's gonna crumble just like them fake promises you make. Proverbs 10:4. Slack hand? Y'all ain't working for nothing real. You playing games, hiding behind smoke and mirrors? 1 Timothy 6:9. 11. Desire to be rich. Y'all falling into them traps, them snares, them damnations. Luke 14:28. 30. Count the cost? Y'all ain't counting nothing. You building on sand, and the tide's coming in. Luke 12:34. Where your treasure is? It ain't with them kids. It ain't with no real love. It's with them paper dreams, them hollow promises. Matthew 19:21. Sell what you possess. Y'all ain't selling nothing. You holding on tight, even as it chokes you. Proverbs 22:3. Danger and hides himself. Y'all blind to the storm, thinking you invincible. James 5:1-6. Riches have rotted. That's your future. Gold and silver corroded, eating your flesh like fire. James 4:3. Ask wrongly. Y'all praying for more, while your hearts rot from the inside. Luke 12:16. 21. Fool, that's what God calls you. Building bigger barns for nothing. Luke 3:14. Content with wages? Y'all ain't content with nothing. Always wanting more. Matthew 6:34. Anxious about tomorrow? Y'all living in fear, trapped by your own greed. Matthew 6:25. Anxious about life? Y'all worried about the wrong things. Proverbs 12:11. Worthless pursuits? That's yo whole damn life. Proverbs 10:22. Blessing of the Lord? Y'all ain't seen no real blessing. You just cursed with emptiness. Psalm 37:21. Wicked borrows? You owe a debt you can't pay. Deuteronomy 16:17. As he is able? Y'all able to do better, but you choose not to. 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your anxieties? Y'all ain't casting nothing. You holding on tight to your fears. 1 Peter 3:1. Wives, be subject. Y'all ain't even subject to your own damn conscience. 2 Corinthians 9:8. All grace abound? Y'all ain't got no grace, just empty promises and broken hearts. Matthew 6:26. Birds of the air? They got more sense than you. Proverbs 30:24-25. Exceedingly wise? Y'all ain't wise, you fools. Proverbs 23:4-5. Do not toil, y'all toiling for nothing. Proverbs 22:9. Bountiful eye? Y'all eyes are greedy. Proverbs 22:4. Riches and honor? Y'all ain't got no real honor. Proverbs 21:25. Sluggard? Y'all lazy in the spirit. Proverbs 6:6-8. Go to the ant? Y'all ain't got no work ethic. Psalm 127:2. Anxious toil? Y'all toiling for nothing. 3 John 1:2. Go well with your soul, yo souls are sick. Colossians 3:23. Work heartily? Y'all ain't working for nothing real. 1 Corinthians 16:2. Put something aside? Y'all ain't putting nothing aside. Isaiah 41:20. Hand of the Lord? You don't know his hand. Proverbs 16:9. Lord establishes? You think you are in control. Proverbs 1:5. Increase in learning? Y'all learning nothing. Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself? Y'all delight in nothing. And you want to talk about married the wrong person. 1 Corinthians 7:15. Y'all ain't got no peace. Matthew 19:9. Y'all breaking vows like they nothing. Malachi 2:16. Y'all hating what you're supposed to love. Psalm 37:4. Y'all ain't delighting in the Lord. Matthew 19:6. Y'all tearing apart what God put together. 1 Peter 3:1. Y'all ain't leading nothing. Ephesians 4:32. Y'all ain't forgiving nothing. Ephesians 5:33. Y'all ain't respecting nothing. Genesis 2:24. Y'all ain't cleaving to nothing. Genesis 2:18. Y'all ain't no helper. 1 Corinthians 13:1-13. Y'all don't know what love is. 1 Corinthians 7:32-35. Y'all anxious about nothing. 1 Peter 5:7. Y'all ain't casting nothing. Matthew 6:33, y'all ain't seeking nothing. 1 Corinthians 7, 140, y'all ain't got no control. Matthew 5:32, y'all breaking vows. Ephesians 5:25, y'all ain't loving nothing. 2 Corinthians 6:14, y'all ain't yoked to nothing good. John 3:16, y'all ain't believing nothing. 1 Corinthians 7:10, 11, y'all ain't reconciling nothing. 1 Peter 3:7, y'all ain't understanding nothing. Matthew 19:12, y'all ain't receiving nothing. James 1:13, 17, y'all tempting yourselves. Philippians 4:8, y'all ain't thinking about nothing good. Romans 8, 1:39, y'all condemned. Mark 10:9, y'all tearing apart. Ephesians 5:31, y'all ain't holding fast. Malachi 2:13, 16, y'all faithless. Amos 3:3, y'all. The stage is dimly lit, a single spotlight on the speaker. The air is thick with tension. Y'all want to talk about role models? Y'all want to point fingers at other men talking about what they ain't doing? Let's talk about what you ain't doing. Let's talk about that little girl looking up at you, seeing her daddy in any nigga that shows her a sliver of attention. Pause, letting the words sink in. Matthew 19:26. With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Y'all think it's impossible to be a real father? To be present? To be a damn man? Nah, it ain't impossible. It's a choice you ain't making. Matthew 19:7. Why then did Moses command one to give a certificate of divorce? Y'all breaking promises, breaking hearts, leaving wreckage in your wake. And then you got the nerve to judge somebody else's mess? Matthew 10:29, 31. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Even the smallest thing matters to God. But you ain't even seeing your own daughter. You blind to her pain, deaf to her cries. The speaker steps closer to the edge of the stage, voice dropping to a low, intense rumble. Y'all talk about moderation? 1 Timothy 3:3. Not a drunkard, not violent, but gentle. Y'all ain't gentle. You violent with your absence, drunk on your own ego. 1 John 2:15, 16. Do not love the world. Y'all love the world more than your own flesh and blood. 3 John 1:2. That you may be in good health, as it goes well with your soul. Your souls are sick, rotten, and it's poisoning your kids. Luke 17:32. Remember Lot's wife. Y'all looking back at what you lost, instead of forward to what you're destroying. The speaker paces, the energy in the room building. Y'all want to talk about money and business? 1 Timothy 6:10. The love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. Y'all chasing that paper, chasing that clout, while your daughter's out there chasing a daddy she ain't got. Acts 20:35. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Y'all ain't giving nothing but excuses. Hebrews 13:5. Be content with what you have. Y'all never content, always wanting more, more, more. The speaker stops, staring directly at the audience. How would you feel if some slick-talking nigga manipulated your daughter, played on her insecurities, her need for attention, her desperate search for a father figure? You'd tear him apart, wouldn't you? But you doing the same damn thing to your own kid. You manipulate. The alley reeked of stale beer and desperation. Maya, barely 13, watched as her mother Lena argued with another man. Not her father, of course. Maya barely remembered him. He was a ghost, a whisper in the stories Lena told when she was drunk. A faded photograph tucked in a box under the bed. He ain't never been nothing but a deadbeat. Lena spat, her voice raw. The man, a rough-looking dude named Rico, just shrugged, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Maya looked away. This was her normal. This was the symphony of broken promises and fleeting connections that made up her world. Chapter 1. The Shepherd and the Wolves. John 10:11. 15 echoed in Maya's mind, a verse she'd half heard in a Sunday school class years ago. I am the good shepherd. But who is the shepherd in her life? Lena fighting tooth and nail to keep a roof over their heads? Rico, who sometimes brought groceries and sometimes just brought trouble? Or was it Mr. Earl, the old man who ran the corner store, who always had a kind word and a piece of candy for her? Maya understood, even at her young age, that a child needed more than one person to guide them. It wasn't about replacing her father. It was about filling the gaps he'd left. She saw the other girls on the block, some with fathers who were present, some with none, all navigating the same treacherous terrain. They learned from the older women, the aunties, the big sisters, the guys who looked out for them, the teachers who saw their potential. Chapter 2. The Unclean and the Redeemed. Leviticus 21:11. The prohibition against touching the dead felt like a metaphor for her life. So many things felt unclean, tainted. The violence, the drugs, the casual cruelty that permeated the neighborhood. But Matthew 22:30, the promise of a life beyond this one, offered a sliver of hope. Maya began to seek out those who offered glimpses of a different future. Miss Clara, the librarian, introduced her to books that transported her to other worlds. Mr. Earl taught her the value of hard work and honesty. Even some of the guys on the corner, despite their rough exteriors, offered protection and a sense of belonging. Chapter 3. The Works of the Flesh. Galatians 5:19 warned of the works of the flesh. Maya saw them all around her. The fleeting pleasures, the destructive impulses, the constant struggle for survival. She understood why some girls sought validation in the arms of older men, why they craved the attention their fathers never gave them. It was a desperate attempt to fill a void, a dangerous game with devastating consequences. Revelation 1:1. The promise of revelation hinted at a deeper understanding. Maya began to question the patterns she saw, the cycles of abandonment and pain. She started to see her own potential, her own strength. Chapter 4. The Roaring Lion. 1 Peter 5:8. The warning about the devil prowling like a roaring lion felt all too real. Temptations lurked at every corner. The allure of easy money, the escape of drugs, the fleeting comfort of empty relationships. But Maya also saw the strength of the community, the resilience of the people who refused to be broken. She realized that her father's absence didn't define her. It was a part of her story, but it wasn't the whole story. She would find her own path, forge her own identity, drawing strength from the diverse figures who surrounded her. Chapter 5. The Gift of the Spirit. Acts 2:38. The promise of the Holy Spirit offered a sense of inner strength. Maya began to cultivate her own voice, her own sense of purpose. She learned to discern the voices that lifted her up from the voices that sought to tear her down. She understood that a little girl would always look up to those who showed her kindness, who offered her guidance, who made her feel safe. It wasn't about replacing her father. It was about building a network of support, a community of love. Ending note. Maya's journey is ongoing. She's still learning, still growing, still navigating the complexities of her world. But she knows she's not alone. She's surrounded by echoes of the block, by the voices of those who believe in her, by the promise of a future she's determined to create. The stage is bare, the spotlight harsh. The speaker's voice is low, deliberate, cutting through the silence. Y'all think a deadbeat dad is the worst? Nah, you can be sitting in the same house, eating at the same table, and be 1,000 times worse. You can have your kids and still be a ghost, still be a stranger. Let's talk about that kind of deadbeat. Pause, letting the weight of the words settle. Peter 4:3. Living in sensuality, passions, drunkenness. Y'all chasing every thrill, every fleeting pleasure, while your kids are starving for your attention. 1 Peter 2:11. Abstain from the passions of the flesh. Y'all slaves to your desires, blind to the needs of your own blood. 1 Peter 1:15. Be holy in all your conduct. Y'all preaching one thing, living another. Hypocrites. James 4:6-11. God opposes the proud. Y'all too proud to admit your mistakes, too arrogant to change. Hebrews 10:26-31. Sinning deliberately. Y'all knowing what you're doing, knowing the damage, and doing it anyway. Titus 2:11-14. Ungodliness and worldly passions. Y'all worshiping the world, sacrificing your kids on the altar of your own selfishness. 2 Timothy 3:1-9. Lovers of self, lovers of money. Y'all obsessed with your own image, your own comfort, your own damn ego. 2 Timothy 2:22. Flee youthful passions. Y'all stuck in a cycle of immaturity, refusing to grow up. 1 Timothy 6:11-12. Pursue righteousness. Y'all running from it. Ephesians 4:17-19. Darkened in their understanding. Y'all blind to the truth, deaf to the cries of your own children. Galatians 5:7. Who hindered you from obeying the truth? Y'all hindering yourselves. Galatians 5:1. For freedom Christ has set us free. Y'all chained to your own damn vices. The speaker steps forward, voice rising. Y'all think just being present is enough? Just paying the bills? Nah, that ain't fatherhood. That's just existing. Real fatherhood is about being there, truly there. It's about looking into your kids' eyes and seeing their soul, not just your own reflection. It's about listening to their fears, their dreams, their pain. It's about guiding them, protecting them, loving them unconditionally. Y'all want to talk about a new start? 2 Corinthians 5:17. A new creation. Y'all can't be a new creation if you're still clinging to your old habits, your old excuses. Isaiah 40:31. Renew their strength. Y'all need to find strength to break the cycle. Jeremiah 29:11. A future and a hope. Y'all stealing that future from your kids. Isaiah 43:18-19. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Y'all need to do a new thing. Start being real fathers. Ephesians 4:22-24. Put off your old self. Y'all need to shed that dead skin, that mask of indifference. Lamentations 3:22-24. New every morning. Y'all need to wake up every day and choose to be better. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord. Y'all need to trust in something bigger than yourselves. 1 Peter 1:3. Born again. Y'all need a rebirth. The speaker's voice softens, but the intensity remains. Y'all got your kids, but you ain't got them. You got their bodies, but you ain't got their hearts. You got their presence, but you ain't got their trust. You're worse than a deadbeat, because you're a living, breathing reminder of what they're missing. And that's a wound that cuts deeper than any absence. Wake up, before it's too late. Before they look at you and see nothing but a stranger. Before they learn to live without you, even when you're standing right there. Before they become a reflection of your own damn emptiness. The speaker's voice is sharp, cutting through the comfortable illusions. Y'all think a roof, a meal, a ride to school is enough? Y'all think that's fatherhood? Nah, that's bare minimum. That's survival, not living. Y'all blind to the fact that you ain't showing your kids what real life is. You ain't showing them how to thrive. The speaker pauses, letting the silence amplify the point. John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. Y'all ain't laying down nothing. You barely lifting a finger. Psalm 23:4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Your kids are walking through that valley, and you ain't even holding their hand. Revelation 11:1-19. Measure the temple of God. Y'all measuring everything but your own damn actions. Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord. Y'all trusting in your own selfish desires. Revelation 21:4. He will wipe away every tear. Y'all the reason those tears are falling. Lamentations 3:22. 23. New every morning. Y'all wake up and choose the same old bullshit. Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. Y'all making sure that good ain't nowhere near your kids. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created. Y'all destroying what God intended. Ephesians 2:8-9. By grace you have been saved. Y'all need a whole lot of grace. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Act like men. Y'all acting like boys. Romans 12:12. Be constant in prayer. Y'all praying for yourselves. Psalm 34:8. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Y'all ain't giving your kids nothing good to taste. 2 Timothy 1:7. Power and love and self-control. Y'all lacking all three. Romans 8:38-39. Nothing will be able to separate us from the love of God. Y'all separating yourselves. Mark 11:22-24. Have faith in God. Y'all got faith in nothing. Psalm 16:11. Fullness of joy. Y'all ain't giving your kids no joy. James 2:19. Even the demons believe. Y'all believe in nothing but yourselves. Hebrews 12:1-2. Run with endurance. Y'all ain't even walking. Hebrews 4:16. Throne of grace. Y'all ain't got no grace. Colossians 3:9. Do not lie to one another. Y'all lying to yourselves. Ephesians 6:10. Be strong in the Lord. Y'all weak as hell. Ephesians 4:22. Put off your old self. Y'all clinging to it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Way of escape. Y'all running from it. Romans 10:17. Faith comes from hearing. Y'all ain't listening. Acts 3:19. Repent. Y'all refusing. Proverbs 18:10. Strong tower. Y'all ain't no tower. Philippians 1:6. Good work. Y'all ain't doing no good work. Hebrews 13:5. Content with what you have. Y'all always wanted more. The speaker leans forward, voice dropping to a harsh whisper. How you feed your kids matters. You can't fill them up with junk, with fast food and empty calories. You can't fill them up with empty promises and broken dreams. Their bodies need nourishment. Their minds need stimulation. Their souls need love. Y'all feeding them scraps, while you feast on the finest. And don't even get me started on giving some random bitch better food than your own kids. Y'all think that's love? That's weakness. That's betrayal. That's showing your kids they ain't worth a damn. Hey, the difference? Real fathers invest in their kids. They invest time, energy, resources. They teach them values. They instill discipline. They show them what it means to be a good person. They don't just provide. They nurture. They don't just exist. They live. They don't just talk. They show. Y'all ain't showing nothing but how to be a damn failure. Do you ever just look at your life and see all the pieces scattered? Not just the big, obvious pieces, but the tiny, sharp shards that cut you every time you try to pick them up? That's what it feels like. Like I'm living in a house made of broken glass. We built something, didn't we? We had something real, something that shimmered with promise. But somewhere along the way, the foundation crumbled. The cracks started to show, and we just kept piling things on top, pretending they weren't there. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was both of us, blind and stumbling in the dark. But the result is the same. A wreckage. A wasteland where laughter used to bloom. And the worst part, the absolute gut-wrenching worst part, is watching the hurt in their eyes. The innocent eyes that reflect our failures, our broken promises. They didn't ask for this. They didn't deserve this. I look at them and I see the ghost of what we could have been. The dreams we painted. The future we imagined. And it's like a knife, twisting in my heart. Do you ever feel that? That hollow ache, that empty space where joy used to live? That constant gnawing regret? I know words are just whispers in the wind now. I know actions speak louder, but sometimes, just sometimes, I wish we could rewind. I wish we could go back to the moment before everything shattered and choose a different path. Because the truth is, I'm tired. Tired of the pain. Tired of the silence. Tired of the ghosts that haunt these empty rooms. I'm tired of seeing the disappointment in the eyes of those that I love. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance to salvage something from the wreckage. Maybe there's still a flicker of hope, a fragile ember of what we once had. But it starts with honesty. It starts with facing the truth, no matter how painful. It starts with acknowledging the damage and taking responsibility for our part in it. Because if we don't, we'll just keep living in this house of broken glass, cutting ourselves on the shards of what we lost. The architecture of doubt. The manipulator doesn't just lie. They weave a tapestry of half-truths and carefully constructed narratives. They plant seeds of doubt, questioning the victim's memories, perceptions, and even their sanity. This creates a disorienting sense of unreality. They exploit the human need for consistency. By subtly shifting the goalposts, they keep the victim constantly trying to regain a sense of equilibrium, making them increasingly dependent. It, the currency of vulnerability. Deep manipulators are masters at identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities. They don't just see weaknesses. They understand the intricate emotional architecture of a person's past traumas, insecurities, and unmet needs. They offer a counterfeit sense of solace, mirroring the victim's desires and creating a false sense of intimacy. This makes the victim feel seen and understood, but it's a trap. Teen. The art of isolation. In. Isolation isn't just physical, it's emotional and intellectual. The manipulator gradually severs the victim's connections to their support system, not just by creating conflict, but by fostering a sense of distrust. They create an us versus them mentality, positioning themselves as the sole source of truth and support. This makes the victim feel increasingly alone and dependent on the manipulator. The power of inconsistency. Random acts of kindness are mixed with cruelty. This keeps the victim off balance and makes them constantly try to regain the approval of the manipulator. This intermittent reinforcement is very powerful and can create a very strong bond between the victim and the manipulator. The erosion of agency. And deep manipulation isn't about forcing someone to do something. It's about making them believe they're choosing it. The manipulator subtly shapes the victim's decisions, making them feel like they're in control when they're not. This creates a sense of learned helplessness, where the victim feels powerless to change their situation. The lingering shadow. Even after the manipulation ends, the effects can linger. The victim may struggle with trust, self-doubt, and a distorted sense of reality. They may question their own judgment and have difficulty forming healthy relationships. Deep manipulation is a violation of the human spirit. It's a slow, calculated process that leaves deep emotional scars.